Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for joining our webinar today on how to optimize your business with Stratus Analytics. I just have a couple housekeeping items I'm going to go over before we go ahead and get started. So the webinar today is going to be recorded. All of you will receive a copy of that recording in the next day or two. Additionally, if you have any questions throughout the webinar, you can use either the Q&A feature or the chat feature. We'll receive them either way. However, we are going to wait till the end of the presentation to begin answering those questions. Okay, if you could just go to the next slide, please. My name is Dave Brennan. I'm with the internal marketing team here at Accelerant and working out of the New York office. And our presenter today is going to be Ray Wiener. If you could.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. So we're really looking forward to showing you this. I think in my tenure with Accelerant, we've had a few different attempts at a advanced BI tool, and this is by far our best effort. So we're really looking forward to showing this to you and eventually to your feedback.
Thanks, Ray. So just a short agenda here. So we're going to start off with just a brief overview of what is Stratus Analytics. Then we'll talk a little bit about how Stratus Analytics differs from other BI tools out there on the market. Then we'll hop into a demo and we'll show how you're able to make better decisions with Stratus Analytics. Again, we'll hop into a live demo, and as I mentioned before, we'll leave about 5-10 minutes for Q&A and some next steps there. And with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Ray.
Thank you, Dave. So this is really leveraging all of the work that we've done to sort of better our product and advance things from our command world to our Stratus world. And this is the latest step that we've taken along the way. I hope you guys don't mind, I'm going to pause my camera just so you get a little bit bigger screen. And we'll pick that back up at the Q&A. But at any rate, so Stratus Analytics really is a big advancement, like I've said a couple times. And I want to take you through a couple of things. Now, there's a lot of content in this slide deck. I'm not going to try to read all of it because it would take all of our 45 minutes and we couldn't get to the actual application. But I do want to, along the way, highlight a few things that I think you take notice of. But feel free to download the materials after the meeting is over. And of course, when you do talk to your salesperson about this, bring up questions that are relevant to you and your business. I think that the biggest single difference from a top line perspective is that this is a cloud-based replacement for our previous business intelligence tool from MicroStrategy. In that one, some of you I know have it. You had to make hosting provisions for it, whether you were hosting with us or you were hosting on-premise yourself. You can continue to host Stratus on-premise. However, the analytics piece is truly a cloud-based application. There is a tremendous amount of benefit in that to you, and I'm sure we'll cover some of it along the way. The next big one is really defining goals. You have the ability to upload your own externally created data in order to richen the data set that's in the analytic platform. So something as simple as sales goals and then reporting on sales as they happen in or near real time, and then being able to look at your goals. Really a pretty strong case for why the data warehouse is different. In that, there was one other important point. Previously, our data warehousing tools really only worked in batch mode, even though the communications were going between the report server and your production server in or near real time. The database wasn't refreshed until an overnight period. This communication synchronization interval is likely to be about 15 minutes in production, meaning that from the time that 15 minutes happens, that data is immediately visible and actionable. The fact that this is cloud-based, the fact that the plumbing is already built into Stratus really does cut the overhead costs that you maintain. And it really does get rid of one of the largest impediments to broad adoption of this, which is the upfront cost and just the infrastructure overhead have been dramatically reduced. It really does come fully featured. We expect everyone to take tremendous advantage of this platform and to be able to personalize it and make it your own. But it comes with a lot of reports already built in. And all of those reports are the starting place for you to build something new or a derivative work, or to be able to take that and build brand new from scratch. And unlike our previous platform, it doesn't take a true power user to be able to do that. I think that's one of the big advantages here, is that this is really making this more accessible to an end user, a non-technical end user. The fact that there are a lot of pre-built views, a lot of metrics there, a lot of filter sets and filter capabilities already built in. And the fact is, we're still developing. There are things that are coming soon. I'll mention a couple along the way, are really going to richen this along the way and throughout someone's useful life cycle of it. One more thing, this is really a common platform. So in the past, when we did data warehousing, it was really about doing something specific for your implementation. This being a cloud-based multi-tenant approach, when we apply an update, it's immediately available to everyone. It doesn't alter your view or your products, but what it does is it gives you instant benefit to the ongoing development we're doing for all. One last thing before we kind of get to it that's not on this slide, but I know you're using this slide as a backdrop, is unlike our previous approach, and I'll leave the sales stuff to the individual salespeople, this is a democratization in a way of analytics. You can use as many licenses as you want for the fee. You want to use one, you want to use 20. It's all built in, up to the limit of the licenses that you have in Commander Stratus. So you really can take this out of the upper reaches of your company and really put it in the hands of the users that you want. On the metrics pieces, there are a tremendous amount already pre-built, and we're adding more all the time. You can organize them in logical groups that have user-friendly names that your people can really use. Matching terminology is pretty important to making sure that you don't have to undergo a tremendous training exercise to get more people to learn to use it. A tremendous asset is just the speed of onboarding. In the demo today, I'm going to cover a few things pretty briefly and pretty much at a high level, but I think you will instantly see a tremendous amount of usability in the application itself. A cloud-based approach, I can't say enough about it. It does a lot. That graphic, the infographic to the right of your screen, tells you one big thing, huge. It is a fully responsive web-based approach to this. You don't have to be on an installed workstation. It'll work great on your phone through a browser. Immediately, out of the box, without you having to customize reports specifically to be mobile friendly like we did in the past platform. This really makes this something that your management, your buyers, and even some of the line staff that you select to use this can really work with on their own devices, if you'd like, so that reporting actually gets to the field. You can set up budgets. A big thing, I mentioned this a little bit before, but you can set budgets and targets so that you can match performance to your expectations and keep track of that in real time. The software is built because of this cloud-based environment to be a high-performance environment. So previously, heavy-duty power users, a lot of use from our clients really had to have more infrastructure. The infrastructure is built in and baked in. It's ready to go. And there are optional places that you can integrate data from other sources, and our salespeople can share more of that with you. But if you have door counting systems and other stuff like that, that data too can flow up. So there are a lot of views that we're going to cover today in the demo, a lot of pieces, but I do want to take time to sort of set the table, if you will. One is that we're flowing data from your retail database. So all the performance data that's in Stratus right now from your stores and from your e-commerce is already ready to go and to synchronize through the setup tasks that are, you kind of heard them called cron jobs, but they're really just synchronization tasks. And data like inventory allocation between stores, a way to create reports to say, what's the right amount of hold I need for a particular SKU or set of products for a week's supply or some other period that you define. Planning, I think that's a really big one. And the planning really kind of starts at the company level, down to the store level, and even if you need to the employee level. Most wouldn't go that far, but it's built in, it's ready to go. I think another piece is that, like the move that we made in the last piece, is that this builds in customer data right from the outset. It's part of the package. So the point of sale data that we're feeding over is inclusive of the item records, the transactional traits, and the customer information. So previously, we really talked about analytics being optimally kind of a top-down view of your business. We've stressed that you should try to keep it at a high level and then drill down. This actually allows you to create segments of reporting that are pre-drilled down. And because it doesn't have any significant performance issues, you really can use it for more line level reports. I don't believe it's a replacement for your regular reporting, but it is a tremendous asset and advantage to add reporting that is not only high level and informative in nature, but also tactically actionable data. One of the things that we sort of looked at in this is that previously we hadn't done a tremendous amount of work around conversions or staffing optimization. So there's a lot of pieces built in here to help you get a better handle on budgets, performance, and how they relate to what you plan for. So, your hours planned, your workforce, that kind of stuff. Some of this is coming soon. We're adding some of this stuff to the stack, but you can expect to see an ability to upload a labor plan and see if, punch clock data coming along as well as the sales. So you can compare what you kind of staff to what your sales outcome is and make sure that that's something that you're happy with. I think that's a really big advantage when you look at what the value of adding an additional layer of analytics is how do you get to those things that you haven't been able to get to previously? It's a big advantage and a big change. And that's what we're delivering here. Obviously, in the past, even all the way back to our original software, and what we used as our advanced analytics then that we called data mining in version 5, if some of you remember that, we really always looked at inventory. And of course, we refined that view of what inventory is in MicroStrategy. So we looked at inventory in data mining, which some of you may still have, as the inventory records themselves and then changes to the records, but we didn't look at the transactions that affected it. We were looking at the net change. MicroStrategies advanced that significantly by looking at the transactions themselves that were driving that change. This continues that and looks deeper at the reasons for the change. So it takes one more step. A lot of you do open-to-buy planning. Some of you use a service, and I would suggest that those services are still valuable. This isn't quite a replacement for that. It's not a replacement for your current merchandise planning, but it is a great adjunct to that. And by that, I mean that you can take the results of your plan, upload that through the simple interface that's built into the software, and then create the comparative reports that can look at things in real time. Think about this. A lot of you already do planning, but then, you know, the period of update between plan and performance is usually pretty slow. Even if you take a small slice of the plan and update it, you're getting near real-time updates of plan to performance, something that you haven't probably had access to yet. The planning part is still important. You'll still probably be doing that plan in whatever format you're doing today. But when you take the results of that out and you bring those into the dashboard concept or into the analytics concept, you really can start to see where you are. Buyers that work in seasonal businesses where you're really constantly putting data in, you're writing orders at a rapid pace, you're really working from a static benchmark in your, in your plan. You're working against an open-to-buy, and you're manually keeping track of where you are against your plan. This will help you to keep that up to date through the system instead of through your manual efforts. That's one type of business, planned business where you really thought things through. There are others of you that are really in a pure replenishment business. Now, listen, some of the businesses that I saw on this webinar, you guys have experienced tremendous growth even in this very terrible time. But the ability to use the tools for inventory replenishment are still super important. And those of you that are already on Stratus know that we've really taken a great step forward in inventory replenishment in the Stratus platform in general, leveraging the things that we did in Command and making them better. And I'll leave that to you to explore. But this one piece is different than planning. Sometimes you really need to have deep analytics to support what inventory should be replenished, what things in your assortment are really valuable to keep and that you should buy back into. And this ability to track things in real time, to compare to relevant periods that are appropriate at the collection level is really pretty helpful. And the fact that we have all of the filtered data available to support that really will let you leverage the data you have and see this in a new way. So we're going to jump on the demo next. Give me one moment while I pull that up. I'm just going to get prepared. One moment. So this is the screen that you come to when you come in to the analytics. There is a dashboard that you set as your system default. It's a good place to start our discussion because right away you see that it's, the system can be very graphically driven. It has clear legends that sort of describe what you're seeing. It's very intuitive in that you can save it as your favorite or set as the default if you're on a new one. You can expose filters. I'll go more in depth than that. It has panels that show more information or less. It has built-in drill downs. We'll go into all of this later. It scrolls down to the next panel and to the next panel and to the next panel. So this is really, you know, a different approach. Whereas previously you really had to work hard to build actionable dashboards. This kind of comes baked in. It's a very graphically driven view of this. There's still some great analytics pieces that kind of talk about, you know, the other parts of it, but this is one big difference, is it's graphic. I can't really show it here because of the limits of the desktop that I'm working on, but this scales perfectly to tablets and to phones. It's fully responsive, so, you know, whatever you pull it up on, you have the ability to see it. And it's a really elegant design so that, you know, scrolling through is really smooth and intuitive. So we'll start at the top. Dashboards. If I pull this down, you'll see that the system dashboard is the one that I chose. But then I've got some other company dashboards as well, and I could have my own personal set that I've created. The dashboards, like some of the things that I've kind of shown you, are, you know, have some overarching features. But let's pick one kind of to start with. So I'm going to start with you know, the sales dashboard for management. It runs that, and it pulls that dashboard up. And then you'll see some things that, like I showed you before, open up. And it's got some sample products in it. And then each one of these, as you hover over it, shows you the actual numbers in more detail. It gives you the comparison to budget if you had it, which of course budget isn't loaded at the product level, but it gives you that. It also gives you the ability to change the view that you're looking at, you know, top quarter, top year. So you're looking at one period of time, but you can do that. Like if you want to change some of this, you can. So top sales region, and it rebuilds that view dynamically in real time. It also changed the drill down. There's some suggested drill paths that are built into this. So if I wanted to drill down to the store, then I could drill down to store name, pick that, or pick an alternate drill down. So it's really pretty intuitive. It really does a great job of sort of giving you that. So if I go from this, without doing this click is going to act on store name. So now that my store names are there. And then, again, a path, I could set a different path, but then if I follow the drill path through, it goes to the next set of things. This is kind of the bottom. You'll see that it's really there. I can then drill this. But, you know, the notion here is that you can set all of this up yourself. And if you go too far, go back. So you're never lost within the application. Remember, whatever device you bring is the one it'll work with. This also has a subordinate report. Behind the scenes, unlike in MicroStrategies previously, you don't have to worry about building a report first and then build a dashboard and a view out of this. When we get to it, you'll see we're going to build the dashboard and it builds the report. It really takes the tech aspects out of this and makes it an end user tool. Really a pretty big advancement. There are a couple of dashboards that we sort of did that sort of highlight other things, but really what we've tried to do here is give you a smattering of layouts so you get an idea. These components or widgets are things that you can easily do when you build a dashboard yourself. That's one thing. Two is, we've sort of shown you half screen, full screen. Two different graphic layouts, bars going to one side with the data, with the numeric data here, and then here is an overlay with a trend line. So this is really pretty easy. So if you look at this, say, you know, the legends are clear, budget, discounts, all that kind of stuff. It runs through this stuff. You can highlight that and just remove that piece or add that piece back in. So even within the view, once you kind of set it up, you have controls over the view that you wouldn't have normally. So just click and click the other way to bring it back up. Also, see one page or how many you want to look at in any one thing. So if you want to look at, month to date, I want to look at 20, it'll just change the view to whatever you want. Really super, super intuitive. Other toggles here include, switching from values to percentages, often helpful in someone's analysis, and again, switching the axis of the report, like if I really appreciate that view. What we really tried to do is envision a way so that an individual user can use this the way you want. Now, this one view may seem a little odd to you, but think about this. If you were looking at this on your phone, this scroll is really intuitive. Again, mobile first is really one of the things that we're trying to accomplish here, and I think we've done a great job of doing that. If we go up here, let me show you a different dashboard that focuses on something a little bit different. This really focuses on the budget piece. And this was one of the things that we really wanted to do is, how do you bring in effective outside data without being technically savvy? So I won't show you all the nuts and bolts details of this, but you can download from the platform a format for uploading a budget. You can enter that stuff in a simple Excel format and then upload it through the built-in utilities, and it's instantly ready to use. So you can set a budget, download another format, or continue on the other one and upload a change budget, iteratively working as you go and as you evolve in your budget. Really pretty helpful kind of view of this. And here's kind of the next thing that I want to take you through. So this is a dashboard, and I could take you through all the views and all the great stuff that we've done, and and the things that you've already seen. But what if you like this, but you wanted to make a change? So I'm going to focus on changes in 2 places. I'm going to change some of the filters to sort of show you how easy that is. And then I'm going to change the report to show you how to make a derivative. So we think this is a pretty effective view. But month to date is now year to date. If I wanted to update that, refresh that, you've immediately got additional things almost instantaneously. If I wanted to bring this out to a report because I want to show it to someone, I can export as a PDF. If I wanted to filter something, so this is sales versus budget, if I wanted to take a save filter, I've already put my own filters in. Maybe I'm a buyer and I am responsible for a certain segment of merchandise. So behind the scenes, instead of adding all the departments together, I've saved my departments. Then refresh this. Now we're looking at just my set of data, the ones that are important to me. You personalized it to someone who does these 4 departments. And I didn't have to go in and pick or choose or remove. It was a really easy toggle to get there. That's powerful. If you could do that across everything, product assortments instead of departments, use your OF fields, you have probably used the software to configure views and access for your employees so that they can use the regular Command or Stratus software to your best effect. We've really taken that one step further by letting you create pieces that are appropriate for you. And just like this looks, everywhere there's a plus, make a change. Do it to whatever. If you want to change the comp, change the comp. If you want to change, if you want to limit to certain times of the day, I know that's not going to be for everyone, there. If you want to limit to certain stores, only the ones that a manager has done, even if you don't have regions involved, just add the stores that you want. Like store by store by store. Like I pick the store names that I want to. And it just grabs that and then adds that. So I want this one and this one and this one only. And then when I'm good with that, refresh, and there you go. I've looked at my product view as a buyer in the context of the things that I want to see. Really pretty simple and pretty elegant to do. And looks like I probably don't have enough data in the system to do this, but it gives you an idea of what you can do with that. So there you go. It just churned away and it came up. Lucky me. The point is that this is a really super powerful tool for you to do. Again, sales with tax, it's only limiting to the departments that I'm in. It's showing you the department that I'm best in. If I want to know, 68% of my stuff is coming from this. If I want to drill down on that, I can drill down on that, and I can find out what's coming from that. Really intuitive, and it really does something that we promised in the past with MicroStrategy, but only the most trained employee could really leverage. This really brings it down to the level where you can administer it with an untrained kind of employee. One more thing, as I go to the refresh and to the hide filters, that one more change I promised you. So if we go into here, it says, are you sure? It gives you a little warning. Let's edit that. It's because I didn't save it. So now I'm in full edit mode. You can change this report and save it as new. You can save it as something different. You can add descriptions. You can change this for from a user to something for the company. So if you have an admin, you really want everyone on the same page, you can do that. I can change components by deleting them. I can duplicate that component and then just change it appropriately, or I can edit this individual component. Really clear directions that hover over as you do. But here's the best part. Once I get here, if I wanted to do something completely new, out of the box different, I can just walk through this. So it gives you options on what you can do. I'll just pick something. Let's say heat map. Half or full, it walks you through the options. I don't really understand a heat map, but it certainly is pretty. It gives you an example of what this is supposed to look like. And then you do sales with tax, day, maybe I would do something other than day. I would do quarter, get rid of day, hour, maybe I'll go with month. And if I'm ready, that maybe doesn't work. But you see, it's kind of rendering it. It would do it. So let's go back to day. And let's remove quarter and go to week. There. Maybe that works for somebody. But the point is that I just created an effective view. And if I like that view, go down here and save. If I want to continue to adding onto this, I can do this as well. And then when this is done, I've done that. So if I'm pretty happy with that, I can save it. I'm just going to exit out of this, and I'm going to show you a couple other views. I'm looking at time, and apparently I've been, as normal, long-winded. But I'm so excited about this, I wanted to share this with you. So let's go into the analytics piece, which is the other component. So this is more your traditional reports host. You've got your dashboards, but you've got your regular reports. And I want to share with you a couple of things that are sort of interesting from this piece. So, let me just find the one that I buried. This one, flash sales last week. There we go. Looks like a traditional report, except it's as easy to work with as everything else. Look, it's long, it has a lot of lines, you can extract it to Excel, it does all of that stuff. It has the features built in here that you can see. And if I wanted to change, I can do that. If I wanted to change the indexing, I could do that. If I want to change it to %, I can do that as well. It goes to full screen because some of these things are kind of big. It gives you a really easy way to sort of get back to that. And it's, of course, pretty actionable. And of course, this one's, you know, a bit of a monster. It's a little bit larger. But that gives you an idea that we still have the basic views of reports that are built in that you're used to using. So in this case, retail sales, percent share, previous corresponding period, which is your comp, change, margins, etc. And if I go back to this, you'll see some of the other things we put in here. So inventory, turns. In this full screen, I'm having a hard time viewing it. Sorry, it's just the controls are, there we go, that'll work. You see this, that it's sliding? Also, it keeps the store name in the department, my group buys, static. And then as I move through the data set, even in the expanded view, it keeps that locked and lets you scroll it over. So if you do live and breathe by large, deep data sets, I think what we've done is a really good job on getting the UI really usable. And again, all the controls are here. You can limit this by whatever you want, changes the view, makes it smaller. Then the pagination is there. So whatever works for you, it's kind of meeting you where you are. One more point. And I think it's maybe the most exciting and maybe the simplest of all of this, which is if you go into your own account, and each one of your employees will have their own account, and you go into your profile, you can add as many reports as you want to your subscription panel as you would like. And if I want a report, then it does. And you can change how often it comes, all that kind of stuff. And then at any point in time that you don't want those emails, you can unsubscribe. So back to the mobile thing. You don't have to, you can always pull it up, log in, and dig into whatever you'd like. But the subscription piece is significantly streamlined so that you can really start to take advantage of the tools themselves and not have to worry about how much you know or don't know about the application. It also tells you what you've been kind of hitting the most. So it's tracking what reports you're looking at, completely changing what the things are that you're doing regularly and giving you your quick picks right here. And if that's the one you want, remind you, oh, I forgot to do that. You can go get at that report as well. So let me switch back from this back to PowerPoint for a minute, and we'll continue on. And so really the next part are your questions. I know it has probably been like drinking from a fire hose. There's a lot of information there. So I know, Dave, you've been looking at all the questions that are coming in. Let's see what everyone has to say.
Yeah, so first, thank you, Ray, for that presentation. That was great. And we do have a number of questions that have come in already while you were presenting. But again, if anyone has any new questions or other questions that they want to submit, feel free to do so now using either the chat feature or the Q&A feature. But some of the ones that already came through, the first one we have here is what levels of budgeting are supported by Stratus Analytics?
It's to every level of your hierarchy, you know, so as deep as you'd like to go, and then of course by store. And then it rolls up from whatever granular level you define. So if you define department and store, but you have regions in your group, then it rolls up the stores to the region.
Perfect. So you touched on this in a few places, but we had a question here come in. We are currently already using data warehousing. What is the difference between data warehousing and this tool here?
Well, I said it in the outset, but in data warehousing, you buy a service from Celeron. Thank you. You buy OEM licenses that are useful from MicroStrategy. Then you provision a server. You dedicate Microsoft SQL licenses. You take the base package, and then we implement whatever your custom stuff is. So you got a lot of kind of front-end loaded overhead. Then that data comes over and gets acted on and rebuilt nightly. So no matter where you are in the business today, the data you're looking at ultimately is from yesterday back. This data is going to be coming as you go real time. So sales, flash sales to budget are going to be things you can see. That's one. Second difference is MicroStrategies has a tool to email reports. It really works really well, but it takes a power user to be able to set that up. This allows the individual user to subscribe easily to their report, to the reports they want to do, unsubscribe to ones that they don't want to do, and then to, in a really, really good UI for those reports that I showed you that were already, full screen because we're on demonstration view. When they're looking at it on their phone, it's responsive to their phone. You don't have to build a separate set of dashboards that are just for mobile. So those are some of the differences. There are others, but really, if you have it, it's a transition project we ought to talk about, or whoever, with whoever your salesperson is. And more importantly, if you don't have it, we've kind of knocked down the barrier to entry. It's making it significantly easier to adopt this next platform generation.
Perfect. We had a couple questions coming in about the pricing of Stratus Analytics. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, the proverbial $64,000 question. The answer is, I'm going to give you an answer. There is a pretty nice, attractive pricing model, but it's really like everything else. If I give you an answer in this setting, it's going to be right for somebody and wrong for somebody else. So this is a perfect time for you to get to your friendly neighborhood sales rep and talk to them in depth about your needs and your interests, and let them give you an accurate response.
All right, we have quite a few questions coming in, so we may not be able to get to all of these here, but just a couple last questions. How can I restrict access for my store managers?
Yeah, super easy to do. The admin panels themselves are able to restrict access to certain data points, or for you to pre-build their reports where they don't have all the editor access and stuff. You can build the reports and views you want and then publish it to them, and then those are their reports, and they don't get access to everything. So there's a lot of tools in the onboarding for you to not give away the keys to the kingdom, but give them the slice of the view you feel is most beneficial to them. So, like an example would be producing a top sales report, but not giving margin, for example. An easy change to make. Perfect.
Another question, this is going to be the last one because we want to leave, get out of here on time. What is the required setup? Is there any specific hardware needed, or maybe you could touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, glad to. Again, that's part of the headwind that we wanted to knock down. So I know some of you, I looked at the attendee list, have Stratus, some of you do not. Some of you are in a hybrid environment where you have Stratus and Command. So this feature really starts at 268 and higher. That's number one. So Stratus 268 and higher, and that's what's creating the data feed in the back. As long as you have Stratus running, and it's the correct version, and we've got it set up, it'll start to forward data up to the cloud.
Excellent. Thank you, Ray. All right. There are some additional questions that I see here that have been coming in. We are recording all these questions, and we are going to reach out on a one-on-one basis to get all the additional questions answered for everyone. Just a few items before we wrap it up here. Just for some more general information, you can feel free to visit Celerant.com/Stratus Analytics. There's some additional information, some infographics on there that you're free to download and kind of explore a little bit. However, if you want some more in-depth information, feel free to email sales@celerant.com. We will definitely get any questions answered there, or you can reach out to your individual sales rep. Additionally, just as a reminder to everyone, our virtual client conference this year is going to be on May 4th and 5th, and Ray's going to be doing several deep dive sessions during that virtual client conference, so you can get dive a little bit deeper into some of these reports and some of these additional questions that have come up here. And with that, as I said, we are going to wrap it up here. This is being recorded, so you all will get a copy of that recording in the next couple days. And as I said, if any of your questions were not answered, we'll be reaching out to you very shortly to get those questions addressed. And that'll do it for today. Thank you very much, Ray.